Welcome back to Santa's Little Stitches. In this video, we're creating an angel to bring a bit of holiday grace to our collection. She's the perfect addition to add a touch of light and warmth to the season. By the end of the video, you'll have a lovely angel to watch over your Christmas decor. For this project, you will need a 32 needle and 22 needle circular knitting machine, a 6 needle I-cord machine, hot glue gun, and your basic kit. The yarn that I'm using is Big Twist Cream, White, Taupe, and Caron Simply Soft Gold. The other supplies that you need are polyfill stuffing, hot glue, felt eyes, and a 36-inch template. So let's get started with the body. Cast on your 32 needle machine and knit 20 rows in cream. When changing colors, tie the tails in half a knot. We will finish the knot in the next step. Change to white for 18 rows. Then change to cream for 6 rows. Change to white for 12 rows. Change to cream for 6 rows. Change to white for 18 rows. Then change to cream for 20 rows. At the end of the 20 rows, you can bind off the machine. After the tube is off the machine, turn it inside out and secure all the tails. Trim the tails. Then fold the tube in half, matching wrong sides. Cinch both ends closed and secure with a knot. Save the tails to be used later on. Then stuff the tube with polyfill. Now we are ready to add a drawstring to close the open end. I'm adding the drawstring 6 rows up from that cream section. I'm going through one leg of every stitch, going all the way around. After that's finished, you can cinch the end closed, and if you decide you need more polyfill, do that before we secure with a knot. And leave the long tails. We're going to use those tails to add the separation for the legs. To add the leg separation, I'm going to use one of the tails and I'm going in right where the white meets the cream. And I'll insert my needle, going all the way through to the other side and coming out right where the white meets the cream. Then I'll switch to the other tail and I'll insert that needle in the same hole going in the opposite direction. Then pull on both tails to cinch the leg separation. Then secure with a knot and bury the tails. Now we can add the drawstring for the head. I'm using one of the tails that we clipped off earlier. I'm using the longest tail, and we'll start on the back side of the body at the color jog. Start by going under one stitch on the white section, and then in the stitch directly above that, pick up one stitch in the cream section. Then in the next column to the left, go through one stitch, one white stitch, and directly above into the cream stitch. Continue to go all the way around, picking up a white stitch and then the cream stitch directly above. And you can see as I'm going through the cream stitch, I'm also going through the white stitch in the next column. This saves a step of pulling the yarn through. After going all the way around, we'll crisscross the two tails and pull. This will easily cinch the neckline. After cinching, you can adjust any stitches if needed, then secure with a knot and bury the tails. We can set this piece aside while we work on the arms. Using the 22 needle machine, cast on with white and knit 15 rows. When changing color, tie the tails in a knot, which will be hidden in the next step. Change to cream for 6 rows, and then change back to white for 15 rows. After the 15 rows of white, you can bind off the machine. For this project, we only need one piece. After that piece is off the machine, cinch one end closed and secure with a knot. With the color jog in the middle of the tube, fold the tube in half. We're going to mattress stitch from one end to the other. Find a column of stitches that opens to the left on the top and opens to the left on the bottom. Start by going through one bar on the top and 2 bars on the bottom. Then alternate between the top and the bottom, picking up 2 bars at a time, all the way to the opposite end. By starting the mattress stitch with 1 bar and 2 bars, it will perfectly align the stripe pattern. When you reach the halfway point, stop and add a little bit of polyfill to the end that has already been stitched. Then continue to stitch to the opposite end. Add a little more polyfill. When you reach the end, you can pull on the working yarn to remove the slack in the yarn and then stretch that seam. Then cinch the opposite end and secure with a knot. Bury one tail and keep the other tail for sewing to the body. Next, we'll add a drawstring for the hand separation. I'm going to add the hand separation just like we did with the neck separation. So go under one stitch in the fourth row, and then directly above in the third row, pick up the stitch. Move on to the next column, pick up the fourth stitch, and then directly above in the third stitch. And I'm just going all the way around creating this drawstring. So crisscross the tails and pull, cinch that to create the separation. When you're happy with the results, secure with a knot and bury both tails. Next, we'll sew the arms to the body. I kind of just place it on the body to see where I want the arms to be. And the one thing that we have to line up is the center of the hands with the leg separation. Make sure that the hands are in alignment with the legs. To sew the arms on, I use the mattress stitch. I hold the arms in place where I want it and just mattress stitch a little rectangle box around the side of the arm. I'm just following the shape of the arm to the body, and I'm cinching each edge closed before changing to the next edge. When I finish with one side of the arm, I'll switch over to do the other side of the arm, and I need to add a piece of yarn to this end. So I just cut off a piece and tie it on in a spot. Then I can continue sew the arm in place just like I did on the opposite side. And I'm stopping to check to make sure that everything is properly aligned with the other arm. Once that's finished, I can secure all the tails and bury all the tails. We can set this piece aside when finished while we work on the wings. Using the 32 needle machine, cast on and knit 60 rows in white. After the 60 rows, you can bind off the machine. Once this piece is off the machine, cinch both ends closed and secure. Then fold the wings in half and secure the two ends together. Next, fold the wings so that the gathered or cinched edge is in the center. I'm just kind of doing a little bit of a hand press so I can find where that center point is. And gather the back side of this, and I'm just going to wrap the yarn around. I'm basically making a big bow. Then tie the two tails together to secure and leave both tails for sewing to the body. To sew to the body, place it in the center of the body, close to the neckline. Then using the tails, insert the needle into the body and close up to the neck and wrap around the wings. Do this several times, tightening it up as you take each stitch. Then I'll take a few more stitches, but making a wider stitch this time, before securing the tails together. Then I can bury the tails. So let's move on to do the hair. I am using a cutting mat as my template for how long to cut the strands of hair. I want the strands to be about 36 inches in length, and this ruler or cutting mat is about 18 inches. So I'm going to wrap the strands around this cutting mat for my template. So I'm just showing you how I did this, and I will finish cutting all of the strands off camera. I have several strands cut, and I'm going to take one of the strands to use as my thread to stitch the hair onto the body. I'm going to count down 7 rows from the top on the front side in the center. I'm just going to kind of place my thumb there for a minute, and then count down 7 rows on the back side of the head. And this is where I'm going to insert the needle, and I'm going to go through to the front side 7 rows down from the top of the head. This is where I'm going to start my sewing. So I'm leaving a pretty generous tail off the back side. Now I'm going to take 4 strands, and I'm going to fold it in half to find the center point and place that center point right above where my yarn is coming out, like so. And I kind of have these strands laying flat. Now I'm going to go in with my needle above into the next row. So this is where my stitch currently is. So I'm going to go through that same hole and come out 1 row above it. And I'm just going to, it's basically just wrapping my sewing thread around the hair threads. Now you can see that this is going to move, and that's okay for now. Just be really careful not to pull on the strands that have been sewn down. We'll secure those later. So next, take another grouping of 4 and place that on the next row of stitches. And I'll sew this on the same way. I'm going to go through the hole that I just came out of, wrapping around the strands of hair and coming out in the next row up. And I'll just continue to do this all the way to the back side where that 7th row is. So I'm pulling all of the hair strands to the front so that I don't have to worry about my sewing thread getting caught up in those hairs. Now I'll pick another 4 strands, find the center point, and place it on the next row of stitches. Then with my sewing thread, I'm going to go over the top into the previous hole that I was in and come out 1 row above. So I'm almost done adding the strands of hair. This is my last one. I'll just want to show you how I finish this up. Once those strands are sewn in place, I take my tails and I just tie them together and secure them with a nice good knot or 2. And then I'll just leave those strands to become part of the hair. So I lost some video footage, but what I wanted to show you here is right where that hairline meets the top of the head, add some hot glue, just a small line of hot glue to keep those stitches in place. and then flip it over to the other side and do the same thing. Part of that lost footage was showing you how to steam iron the hair straight. So I'm borrowing this footage here from the Mrs. Claus video, but the technique is exactly the same, using a steam iron to straighten the hair. So I have a piece of blocking material behind my hair here so I don't damage my tabletop, and I'm just combing through the hair, trying to get as much of the hair as straight as possible. This is my handheld steam iron. It has some different settings, and it's made by Conair, and I really like this one. So I've had it heated up for a while now, and now I'm just going to turn on the steam portion. And what I do is, um, as the steam's coming out, I'm just kind of brushing over the top of the yarn. I am touching the yarn, but I'm not leaving this hot steam set in one area because it will melt the yarn. So I'm going to just do one side of this so you can see the difference. And I'll flip it over and I'll do the back side as well, combing everything out. And I'll do that same side just to show you how fast and easy this steam iron works. So I've done this one half a couple of times, and I'm hoping that you can see the difference here and how straight this yarn is now compared to what it was before. So what I'm going to do is finish up the other side, and then we're ready to style the hair. To style the hair, I just part the hair down where the seam is and gather it in the back to create a ponytail. Then using one of those tails, I'm just going to stitch that ponytail to the base of the head. It just makes it easier, just secures everything in place a little bit better since it is going over the wings. Divide it into 3 sections and braid the ponytail. When I get to the bottom, I'll secure with another piece of yarn and then trim the bottom. If you didn't want to do the braid, you could also just trim the hair to the length that you want after you do the ponytail. I'm using the 6 needle I-cord maker for the halo. So before I make the I-cord, I'm going to measure around the top of the head, and for me the length was 13 inches. That is how long of an I-cord that I need in order to make this halo. Once I've made a long enough length of I-cord, I cut it off the machine, and I need to secure both ends. So I'm just running the tail through the remaining 6 live stitches, and then repeat the process for the opposite end. So I'll do a dry fit. I just want to make sure this goes all the way around and it's not too big or too tight. It will stretch a little bit, so if it's snug, that's okay. And I'm just pinning the center point to the forehead where I want the halo to sit, and then I'll just tie these ends together. You can see I actually made the I-cord just a little bit smaller than the 13 inches so that it was a snug fit. So if you're making yours, measure around the top of the head, maybe subtract a ½ inch to 1 inch. Now I'll just stitch this halo directly to the head and the back side. There is a little bit of a gap between the two ends, so I'm just kind of doing a faux grafting to pull those two ends closer together. And then I'll secure with a knot and bury those tails. Next, what I'm going to do is sew the halo to the front of the head so that it doesn't slide off. And I'm taking just a long piece of yarn going in from the side, and I'm just going to stitch it down across the forehead. So I'll just take some stitches going across the front of the forehead. I'm kind of going underneath the halo so that the stitches will be hidden. And once I reach the other side, I'll weave that tail back to the side of the head where I inserted the needle to begin with, and just secure the tails together and bury them. And here is the finished halo, and you can see that it helps hold the hair in place as well. The last thing I do is add the eyes, and I have these cute little eyelash eyes, and I'll start by placing them on the face, and I'll add these pins as markers on where I want to final place them. And I move them around, and I just take my time trying to find the best position. Once I have that, I'll add a little bit of hot glue, and because I have my markers, the pins there, I know exactly where I need to place the eye. So these eyes are about an inch in length and about 5/8 of an inch tall. I hope you enjoyed the angel video. Stay tuned for the next character, the reindeer, from Santa's Little Stitches series. A pattern will be available after the last video has posted. The pattern will include all the characters from Santa's Little Stitches video series. Thanks for watching.